If you're familiar with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like so many millions of Americans now unfortunately are, you will realize that she, along with the rest of her minions in the so-called squad, speak of race, racism, and identity incessantly. Almost pathologically, it's used as a weapon to silence their opposition, to make us all think twice about being bold enough to speak of their incompetence. In the case of her fellow squad member Ilhan Omar, her status as one of the few Muslim members in Congress is used to let her get away with saying things that would get any Republican member of Congress censured and undoubtedly stripped of committee assignments. Various anti-Semitic tropes, and more recently comparing the United States of America, the country she took an oath to serve in Congress, to the Taliban, masterminds behind the most lethal terrorist attack on American soil in history. But what does this all mean? What is it all about? From wokeism to white supremacy, from critical race theory to 100 genders, from kindergartners being taught BLM at the same time they're learning their ABCs, what is the point of all this? And while we're at it, Saturday is Juneteenth, a now federally recognized holiday that celebrates the end of slavery in America. Conservatives are right now taking the bait from the left, as they always do, and being reflexively anti-Juneteenth, as they're arguing that it's as divisive as the critical race theory we seem to spend so much time talking about, and that we'll get to later in the show. The only problem is this: Juneteenth is an actual moment in American history, one that, by the way, has absolutely zero to do with the divisive rhetoric of critical race theory, which seeks to further divide Americans into either oppressors or victims. Reflexively anti-CRT conservatives are once again falling into the left's trap, being against a moment in history that is important for all Americans, just so that the left can paint conservatives as anti-black. In fact, none other than Mr. America First himself, Donald Trump, made it a campaign promise to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. So conservatives, please listen to your boy Rob Smith and resist the efforts of the left to conflate critical race theory with actual African American history. Because by being against Juneteenth, we leave them the opening to do exactly that. To make it seem like conservatives do not care about black Americans. To make it seem as if conservatives are reflexively against anything that the majority of black Americans are for. And I say all this to say, to continue to fight against critical race theory, fight it with all of your might. But use the Juneteenth holiday as an opportunity to celebrate one of America's greatest moral victories, ending slavery. Coming together to celebrate moments like this is truly what makes America great. But even outside of Juneteenth and the efforts of the left to conflate celebration of black history with critical race theory, what is the point of all this? Well, it's quite simple. The left wants nothing more than wholesale government control over our entire existence. It wants cradle-to-grave government control of all citizens that the demagogues in charge right now will use to grow governments and line their pockets. Just ask Nancy Pelosi why she's worth upwards of $150 million after decades being spent serving in Congress. And this left that wants government control so bad will exploit the weak-minded, feeble identitarians who gain their cancel culture currency via social media, and their power over the weak classical liberals who won't dare stand up to them via the alleged oppression they experience every second of every single day, allegedly, as a result of their race or color or ethnicity or sexual orientation or gender identity or weight or immigration status or any of the other intersectional identities that they use to bludgeon the rest of us with decency, morals, and common sense into submission. But something is happening, folks, and not a moment too soon. People are waking up. Over the past 4 years, a coalition of hardworking, bold, and smart America First conservatives, independents, libertarians, and yeah, even some liberals has been built. And they are rising up against the tyranny of the wokistanis currently terrorizing us with Ibram X. Kendi children's books and cartoon drag queens teaching preschoolers about pride parades. It's true. If you tune out of whatever tongue bath is being given to Biden over on CNN and MSNBC and tune into the fight happening in the real world, you'll see it every day. Parents of all races fed up that their children are being taught to define themselves and their classmates solely by skin color in grade school. Employees of big tech companies blowing the whistle on the ways in which Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube collude to control the flow of information into society. Information that, especially when it comes to COVID-19, we now know could have saved countless lives. Fed up journalists tired of feeding viewers Democratic Party propaganda and turning against their cable news overlords. And finally, right here, people like me. People that have common sense. People with so-called identities that should be completely owned by the left, but instead are standing up against it. Because we all know that where this is headed ain't good. They're black, white, Latino, Asian, gay, straight, whatever. And they know that they don't have to be owned by the left. They don't have to hate America, and they have common sense, which the left has totally lost. Even President Obama is recognizing it.
You would think, with all the public policy debates that are taking place right now, that the Republican Party would be engaged in a significant debate about how are we going to deal with the economy, and what are we going to do about climate change, and what are we going to do about, lo and behold, the single most important issue to them apparently right now is critical race theory. Who knew that was the threat to our republic?
You see that right there? That is fear. Fear of a united America First, GOP, libertarians, independents fighting back against all of that stuff, trying to bring back common sense. So here's to those with common sense. Here's to those who know a strong border means a strong country. Here's to those who resist being defined by immutable characteristics like race or gender, and instead define themselves first and foremost as Americans. Because let me tell you something. We're going to need all of those people we can get if we're going to make it through the next 3.5 years of a Biden-Harris administration.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me. Thanks.